We Remember presents Road to Remember. The foot soldiers, change makers, and extraordinary individuals.
Definitely.
Okay, so you were speaking on tolerance.
Yes.
So tolerance, and I told her, I'll be totally honest, I tried to look at things from a humanity standpoint, with those type of lens, because there are white folks that's in this organization that are very diligent and do a great job in our mission. But when you talk about, white folks that's, embedded in capitalism and oppression and systemically believe that, that they can save the world, my tolerance is zero. With the understanding that I understand what you're doing and how you are, and it doesn't distract me from my value or who I am or what my mission is, right? So regardless of what you say or how you do it, if I'm not complimenting it or in agreement with it, I can walk away just as happy and feel just as good about myself, despite what you said or how you feel, right? And often I make that known, right?
How you got to that place though? Because I think that's a hard thing to, we're inundated with white supremacy and white methods of measuring us. Even we measure each other against white supremacist norms. So I just think that's an interesting thing that you got to a place where you know how to dismiss them.
Yeah, so, there's phrases I use. There's instances where automatic walls just come up around me, right? That just block some of that stuff out. And I think being incarcerated, even when I was incarcerated, and I've done different stints that range up to about 22 years. But when I was in prison, even when I was in prison, it's sort of like Malcolm, I felt free. I didn't let the constraints and the confinement control my thinking or how I live in prison. And there was a theory that I lived by. I was a hustler. I didn't work on the street. I'm sure not coming in prison and work.
Say that.
So I'm gonna find the easiest job where I can lay out, and make myself comfortable. And I always surrounded myself with a group of guys that I can laugh with, and always was part of something in the prison system that was for the good for all of us who lived there. I'm ready to kind of change my lifestyle and just kind of go out in the sunset in peace, right? And that's what I strive for, my peace, even in my work. If it's not peaceful, if it's chaotic, because when it's chaotic, it brings me to another place, and it just kind of bring me back to my past. And I try not to, go back into the past. But then there was always these trips and buses. So I always made provisions that I was part of something. When the bus go out the prison gates, I was on it. So it gave me this sense of freedom because I was moving inside of this controlled environment the way I wanted to move, right? Instead of just saying, I'm confined, I'm locked up.
So that's on the basis of still survival.
Exactly.
You were still in that. That was the common, that I don't want to call it a theme, but that's how you were able to maneuver.
Exactly. And it's sort of the same thing in the world. We have people who are confined and controlled and conditioned to believe that life is in, certain areas or certain boxes when the world is so large that, you can explore and, meet people. Even this interview, right, is because of relationship that I had with Natalia, that freely allowed me to do it. Even when my son first got in trouble, I was kind of, quick to want to be in talking. And then I suddenly realized, who am I talking to, right? These people are the same people who fed some of the stuff to, oppress me, and disenfranchise people on a daily basis. So I be very intentional about it. I don't need the glamour, and all the and say I'm doing such a great work. We had peace, we got a good staff, we're in a good, neighborhood, I work for another nonprofit organization. We sort of had a divorce, sort of an ugly divorce at the time that we have mended over the years. But coming out of that, I had realized how not only the nonprofit world existed, but the structural government system that we also fought against. So I'm like, hold up, some of this stuff is similar, right? So I was like, I'm done with this. I'm gonna go on and do something else. But a couple of my colleagues, said, look, you have all the relationships, you know everybody, continue to do the work. So upon thinking about what we was gonna name the organization, we maybe went 6 or 7 months trying to debate on what we're going. And we finally came up with a Butu Village, and we wanted the name to reflect and exemplify how we live every day and how we work together. And how, if we just had, on a daily basis, even y'all relationship, when you're doing that, it brings some peace and happiness that doesn't, phase your work, right? So, and intentionally, that's what we do. And we, even people who come to volunteer, I kind of drill, and some of them I run away, but I'm fine with it. Yeah, so
Peace at all costs.
yeah, and I think that some of that growth comes from being in prison and sort of being at the bottom where you rely on a lot of other resources, not in particular yourself, to survive and to have. So I learned that, from that, there's nowhere else but to look up for me, right? I've been at the bottom, drug addiction, incarceration. I'm like, if I've overcame that, there's nothing, I still struggle with cigarettes, but, we all have our struggles, and our pet peeves, but for the most part, I have a sense of peace about my life and who I am and what I stand for, and and how I address it, and nothing no one say. And I sit among tables with a bunch of so-called professionals.
I like that so-called professional.
Yeah.
Take that name back from.
Yeah, and they talk over my head because they have these degrees and use language, but my comprehension level, I can understand it. Even if you talk about it for a long time, I can get it.
Yeah.
Right? Once you have a vision about something, you're not going to see it anymore. You see your vision, it disappears. Now it's time for you to take necessary steps to make it come to fruition. Right? You see it, you done thought about it. There may have some detours or some obstacles you may have to climb to change. But if you trust your spirit in the vision that you've seen it to become of it, I think often it becomes more. Because you give it time to marinate. You give it time. You have that peace to where as though you allow it to develop in a way that it's not all you. You're trusting your intuition. You're trusting your internal spirit that guides us on a daily basis to take its course.